outside at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference, June 2024. We'll see what this is all about. A lot of people.
Excited?
Yes.
With all these different
Yeah.
Man, there's all sorts of stuff here, isn't there? Want a t-shirt? Got it. Want a keychain? Coffee cup? Got it.
They got it too. Oh, everybody's got it? Yep.
Hats, anything you could want, they got. And it's not just Bigfoot.
No. I forgot the
Stuff is. They have a plethora of items.
What, isn't it?
Interesting. All sorts of clothing paraphernalia there. Bottle opener, $5. Tempted. There's all the speakers. Lined up. Oh, and there's Renee Holland.
That happens. Again, I interview a lot of people who have Bigfoot, Sasquatch encounters. Obviously, we're talking about Skunk Ape, which is Florida's Bigfoot / Sasquatch, right? And the differences. I've talked to people and had people on the show that have seen these things and interacted with them in Florida, and I've gotten a mixture of a couple of things. I've had people tell me they're smaller here. I've had people tell me that they're just as big here as they are in the Pacific Northwest. So let's talk a little bit about characteristics. As far as the reported physical characteristics that you guys have dealt with in Florida with the skunk ape, how do they differ from what you're seeing in reports from other parts of the country? And the second part of that question is, why do you think that is, that we're seeing these differences, if you are seeing differences in Sasquatch here in Florida, say, versus the Pacific Northwest or even in North Carolina where I'm from? Steve?
First off is the size. Everyone says that I personally haven't had sightings. I can't say that they're bigger or smaller, but people that have had sightings have said that the skunk apes are generally smaller in size than the ones in the Pacific Northwest or even the Georgia mountains and things like that.
There was a time me and Jimmy found this new area we wanted to check out. So we go in there and we found, and this is what's amazing with the arches is, and people say, well, it's just an arch, you know, when it's the shape of a horseshoe. It's a very tight arch. And down to the ground. And the end is shoved into the ground. It's not held down, it is shoved into the ground. And you look at it and you're like, what could have done that? And you're talking a tree that's 20 feet tall. You know, it's as big around as my leg.
A lot of you may have got your start with finding Bigfoot. And finding Bigfoot is a place kind of like the Patterson. We'll take some woos. Woo! And in that process, getting the kids involved, there was absolutely nobody better at making the kids feel as involved in this wonderful adventure to figure out this great mystery than my good friend Renee Holland. Listen, she's a skeptic, but she is wide open. She believes in the scientific process, and as long as you do that, she is here to remind you there are steps you need to take with your research to ensure that you are taken seriously. So if she comes off a little firm sometimes, it's because she wants you to do it correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, a very dear friend of mine who came in early so she could hug my babies, the ultimate citizen scientist, Miss Renee Holland.
Hello, everybody. Florida. Oh my gosh, you guys, the last time I was here, not kidding, it was snowing. It's just like, you know what, no matter, it's like, I swear, if Bigfoot is a biological animal, it's in cahoots with Mother Nature, and that's how it's remaining undetected. And these are 4 words, you guys, that I'm going to be talking about a lot today. Belonging, curiosity, patience, and persistence. I'm a trained biologist who spent, more than a decade of my life searching for Bigfoot. And I know it sounds like an oxymoron, kind of like a corporation practicing sustainable exploitation. Now, if anybody not seen the show, Finding Bigfoot is like a real life X-Files, where I'm Scully with 3 Mulders. And if this weren't a show, they would still be doing what they're doing. And these guys were regularly exasperated that despite what they believed was evidence, I didn't agree. Science is a verb. It changes how we view the natural world. I cling to the belief that by practicing belonging, curiosity, patience, and persistence, applying the scientific method, that we might get some answers. I'm really on social media because of this vitriol I'm talking about. I took a couple years off because of that vitriol. And it was Bobo and Cliff and folks like Marty and Nikki that got me to come back to this community. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It goes on in here. The Bigfoot community is a microcosm of this societal problem. You think it's a biological animal. You think it's an alien. You think there's a vortex. You think it's quantum physics. I'm aligned with indigenous beliefs. And then it's this fight. And I'm saying we don't have to do that. We can have communication because we belong to this community together. It's up to us to maintain patience and persistence, rigorous scientific standards to ensure the genuine progress in the search for Bigfoot.
If you have not listened to the podcast, Bigfoot and Beyond, you are looking at the brains behind it. And he finally got his act together. And how many years did it take to write the book? 20 plus years. His book, The Phenomenal Sasquatch. Matt Pruitt is the next generation of high-level squatcher.
So greatly appreciate everyone being here, and as an introduction, again, my name is Matt. I've been pursuing the Sasquatch for 22 years now. I had an experience when I was very young that prompted me to look into this, and I thought in the beginning, like, oh, I'll get to the bottom of this, and that'll be that, and 22 years later, I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it. How many of you here, this is your very first Sasquatch conference? Oh, very cool. Love to see that. It's really a heartwarming thing to see because I grew up in Northeast Georgia. And that's where the bulk of my field research was. And so in the early 2000s, it was like it was harder to find another Sasquatch researcher than it was to find a Sasquatch. And it took me years to touch base with people who were interested in the subject or following the information. And so to fast forward to now, to see so many people under one roof that all have a passion for the same subject is really heartwarming. And I think the reason that we bicker over the fine detail is that, you know, when you're looking at an anomalous phenomenon, well, it's not in this room with us. You can't study it. No one can bring one in a jar. If they could, it wouldn't be anomalous. So what do? Well, we study the representations of that anomalous phenomenon. And those representations are people's narratives, their stories, their testimonies, the way they depict those testimonies. I will have the book available at my booth. Again, it's called The Phenomenal Sasquatch. I'll be back there. If you want to follow me online, my website is mattpruittonline.com.
The most well-traveled cryptozoologist I've ever met, Mr. Adam Davis.
Almost there. That's good. Thank you very much to RPG. He's a very kind guy. A lot of help. It's really good to be in Florida. So I really have traveled to lots of different parts of the world. Yeah, so I've looked for lots of different animals. So for example, I've been to Mongolia and looked for their death worm. I've been to India and looked for the Mande Barum. I've been to the Congo. And in my talk today, I'm going to tell you about a number of different species and how and why we may have found evidence of them. Yeah? We want to talk about evidence, yeah? None of the stuff is up to the Nature paper standard, but there is good evidence. But I want to talk to you about the level of proof that's required. So I'm not a scientist. I have a couple of degrees, but they're not science degrees. What I do is I hand over my evidence and allow it to be objectively scrutinized by scientists, and then that has to be corroborated and go through peer review. And in that paper, Dr. Meldrum argues, based on the anatomy of the foot, there's a lot of potential familiarities between Bigfoot in the United States and the Yeren in China, which is interesting, I think. Interesting. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And our film will be out in December, and what I've hoped you've learned from me today is you guys all contribute to research by your efforts, by supporting us, by a lot of the things you do, by being here. You are tangential and critical thinkers. You are the people who can help drive this forward. And I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come to Florida and do this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's a couple of days later, and we wanted to give you our thoughts on the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference.
Yes.
That we went to in
Ocala.
Ocala. Yep. And so, what were your thoughts?
I thought it was amazing. I thought the speakers were really good. I thought they covered a lot of interesting information.
Yep.
And then the vendors that were selling merch and stuff had a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, we bought me a bottle opener shaped like Bigfoot. We bought her thing to make
we're gonna make a magnet out of it ornament because they had run out of the magnets.
And then with the conference kind of logo.
Yeah, the logo.
And then we bought a book.
Yeah.
Matt Pruitt had him sign it.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of research on possible evolutionary and movement from Asia into North America on the land bridge, much like humans moved in, to potentially explain how they, if they're here, how they might have gotten here. So,
and we just got it on Saturday, so we obviously haven't read the whole book yet. But we had listened. I mostly listened to it, but we had listened to some of the Bigfoot and Beyond podcast, and so that's how I knew he was going to be there. But
yeah, it was interesting. My only complaint was it was at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, in one of their big halls, and they have the food there that you can get. A hot dog was $8.
The food was very expensive.
So what'd we do?
We left and went to Subway.
Subway. Yeah. So anyway, we weren't the only ones. We met people there.
Yeah, we actually met people at Subway.
Yeah. All in all, it was really interesting. Most of the people were talking about Florida and experiences they've had here. So it's kind of interesting because we knew the areas they were talking about, especially Central Florida, where we spend most of our time. Truly central, north, south, east, west. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but they were also talking about how locals know to get away from some of the more popular areas that you see, like on TV and like on the shows, like what is it? Well, like Finding Bigfoot, but also Monster Quest and stuff like that. You know,
but I thought it was interesting. Was one of the big areas around in Central Florida that they said, was some places that they like to go was someplace relatively close to where we spend a lot of time. So, but we just have to actually,
I'm not a camper, and
I might do it one of these days. Who knows?
Yeah.
Not right now. It's 97 billion degrees in Florida, but
yeah.
Anyway, so no, it was for what we paid. It was very entertaining, fun to go to.
Yeah, and I think all of the presenters did a great job.
Yeah.
I thought so. One of the things I thought was really interesting was the encounters session. So it had like 7 people who discussed their encounters that they had, and like when they were and how it affected their life, and
So we should preface all this by saying we aren't necessarily believers of Bigfoot. Or disbelievers.
Or disbelievers.
We just find it interesting to listen to people talking about it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It was an interesting thing to go to.
And we loved the show Finding Bigfoot. So since we were here in Florida while this was going on, we were like, we need to go.
Well, because Renee Holland from the show was there, and we got to meet her and talk to her.
But Matt Pruitt,
Matt Pruitt was there from the show. Yeah.
I said, oh, Matt Pruitt's going to be there too. We need to go because he's part of the Bigfoot and Beyond podcast.
Davies, what was his?
Adam Davies.
Adam Davies, yep. So people that we had seen on TV and different shows were there, and it was interesting just to talk to them and get their perspective. Like they'll flat out tell you that those are shows, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
They're made for entertainment first and foremost. So, but no, it was fun.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
So if you get a chance to go to one,
no matter what where you are on the belief versus non-belief scale, it's really interesting.
Fun to go to.
Yeah, it was fun.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I'd go again.
Maybe.
All right, well, and in fact, because we weren't going to buy Matt's book at this, because sometime in the future, our plan is that we've got on our bucket list a trip across the country to go to all these like Bigfoot museums.
We do themed trips.
Themed trips, yeah. And so we were like, I was like, oh, well, when we brought this up, I was like, okay, we're going to go to Cliff's Museum in Oregon, and Matt has his book there. We'll get his book there. And so all day long, I was like, we talked to Matt several times, and then I was like, right before we left, I was like, we just need to get his book now. We just need to get his book now.
Well, he was there. He wrote it, and he signed it for us.
He signed it, yeah.
He wouldn't do that at the other place.
Well, I mean, they were signed.
But not to you.
But not. It wasn't personalized. So
anyway, there's one coming up in Missouri coming up sometime soon. Maybe we'll go to. We haven't decided yet.
I don't think we'll be home for that one.
Maybe not. They've got a camp out, which we would not do. So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. All in all, if we're around in Florida next year when they do it, we might see about going again.
We'll probably go again.
Because this was the 4th annual. Yeah, I think 4th annual.
This
so
is the 4th
anyway, get a chance.
Yeah.
Go see some epic talks about an epic footed bipedal organism that may or may not exist.
It was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was epic.